Welcome to my weekly self-important Magic the Gathering show. This is the pickup week for both Gruul and Selesnya. I tried recording this before but got interrupted, so we're starting again. A lot of the decks, and well, I ended up just building all the decks in between the failed recording and this one. So we're just going to go through the cards that went into the decks. Our first one is BOGO. That is an acronym for buy one, get one. The difference between an acronym and an initialism is that an acronym forms a word that you can pronounce. Or even if it's not technically a word, you can pronounce it, like BOGO. IRS, the Internal Revenue Service, that is an initialism because people generally don't say ERS. It's a lot of federal agencies, FBI, CIA, IRS. If you say the letters, it's an initialism. If you say it like a word, it's an acronym. What are other acronyms? For those who play limited, BREAD, bombs, removal, evasion, aggression. Bombs, removal, evasion, aggression, dregs, I think is the D. Sorry, scratching my head. So anyway, this commander is Stangg, Echo Warrior. 2 red green for a 3/4 human warrior. Whenever Stangg, Echo Warrior attacks, create Stangg Twin, a legendary 3/4 red and green human warrior creature token. It enters the battlefield. Oh, he has no abilities. That's just mildly interesting. It enters the battlefield with tapped and attacking. For each aura and equipment attached to Stangg, create a token that's a copy of it attached to Stangg Twin. Sacrifice all tokens created this way at the beginning of the next end step. So you can take this deck two ways. You can either do Gruul Enchantress with auras, which I think I'm just now remembering that you can do that with Blanca. But when I made Blanca, I think I just filled it with fight and pump spells instead. Blanca and Stangg Twin will probably deserve another episode where I make them Enchantress. I'll have to double check Blanca. I can do that here because I can just pull it up. But yeah, that's an idea for another day. Revisiting commanders I already built to build them a different way. Even though sometimes I've done that in the same episode. There's the -4 day where that one strong lady with 4 colors that lets you deal damage to a player when damaging other players. I had a couple of different ideas for her. Anyway, for each aura and equipment attached to Stangg, create a token that's a copy of it attached to Stangg Twin. Sacrifice all tokens created this way at the beginning of the next end step. So that's actually cool. Remember, only Stangg himself is a commander, so that's the only one doing commander damage. And the Stangg Twin doesn't have to be attacking the same opponent. So that's cool. You can split up your attacks if you feel like it. The thing I said about commanders is important because Ketis, Emberclaw Familiar, whenever a commander you control deals combat damage to an opponent, deals that much damage to each other opponent. So yeah, Stangg Twin only hits one person, but with Ketis out, Stangg himself can hit all opponents. Then we have Original Stangg from Legends, because Stangg is a Legends Retold. Legends Retold is one of my favorite what do they call it? Is it like special guest? You know, it was a bonus sheet on Dominaria United. It's one of my favorite ones that doesn't have special art, I should say, because in the past I've said I really liked the Mystical Archives from Strixhaven. I really like all of the lands in Edge of Eternities. And then there's another one I really liked. Oh, Wilds of Eldraine's enchantments. Though two of those I like, the Wilds of Eldraine and Strixhaven's ones I like just because the unique art for them. Because the Wilds of Eldraine was like this fairy tale thing, and Strixhaven Mystical Archives were like scrolls. I really like the Edge of Eternity ones. While the art is cool because it's all space stuff, that was just a great sheet of non-basic lands. Like, not all of them were winners, but they added more cards to some cycles that were unfinished, and they reprinted a lot of things that I wasn't expecting to see in it. That's why it was great. I feel is that like, oh, we're gonna reprint Meteor Crater, which makes sense because it's a space set, or here's Ancient Tomb. Why not? I don't use Ancient Tomb because it's a game changer, but still. Yeah, no, that was wild. Out of Oblivion, draw a card if we created a token in this turn. Well, if we're attacking with our commander, we're creating tokens. Oh, need to calm myself down. I got really excited there for a second. Buster Sword. It is not a legendary equipment. That's another important thing, is that in this deck I wanted to limit the number of legendary equipments I had to like just the ones I felt were the most essential, and then the rest were ones because the new one would I would need to sacrifice something, and since the new one would sacrifice itself, that means Stangg Twin would be inferior to Stangg because it was missing some equipment. Because I didn't like put Mirror Box in here to make the legend rule not apply to me, or the other one that's more expensive that says the legend rule doesn't apply to anyone. Because I could have gone that way, but that's like really relying on one card in the deck, and I didn't want to do that. But the Buster Sword lets you draw a card and cast a spell for free. That's always nice. And then Roxanne, Starfall, Savant. What even is this? Oh, there's a section called Hoarders. Okay. So there's only 2 card draw cards. This section I called Hoarders. Whenever Roxanne, Starfall, Savant enters the battlefield or attacks, create a tapped colorless artifact token named Meteorite. When Meteorite enters the battlefield, it deals 2 damage to any target, and tap to add 1 mana of any color. Whenever you tap an artifact token for mana, add 1 mana of any type that artifact token produced. Ancient Copper Dragon attacks for treasures. Old Gnawbone, all your people attack for treasures. Because of those 3, I put Dan Lewis in the deck because it amused me. Non-creature, non-equipment artifacts you control are equipments in addition to their other types, and have equipped creature gets +1/+0 and has equip 1. So the synergy here is that we turn our treasures into equipment, equip them to Stangg. Stangg attacks, and then Stangg Twin comes into play with all of these additional treasures that sure go away at the end of the turn, but then you use those for mana in your second main phase. That's the thing. All of my Gruul texts today have the same land, so we'll just go over them really quick. Arena Glory. You can exert it to give the creature you're casting haste. Exert means you don't untap it on your next untap step. Cinderglade. Yeah, these are the usual suspects. Grove. Oh yeah, like Grove of the Burn Willows was reprinted in on that sheet, and this is a. You can't even call it a cycle because this is the only one that exists. This was originally printed in Future Sight, which I want a Future Sight too. For the record, if anyone, I'm like one of 3 people maybe who like the frame for Future Sight. I admit that where they put the mana symbols is off-putting because it's like, oh yeah, they're over there. But other than that, like the full arts with that frame are actually really cool looking to me. Anyway, and Future Sight was like, these are things that could come in the future, and they have fulfilled some of those promises. Like a card in that set was reprinted in Strixhaven, and I was like, oh yeah, this is where that guy's from. So they've done that for a non-zero number of cards. I couldn't tell you all of them, but this one is tap for colorless or tap for red or green. Each opponent gains 1 life. So it's kind of like the opposite of the ones that say tap for the color and you lose a life. I do want this set this to get the other 4 cards. No, other 9 cards because it's every 2 color combo. I don't think they'll do it, but I would love to see it. Then we got the 2 snow duels. Yeah, see, the deals 1 damage to you. Yeah. And then, of course, my snow lands. Like, in a lot of decks nowadays, I like to mix snow and not snow for reasons. But sometimes I get lazy and just go, let's just put all snow in here. I think it has to do of whether or not I want the basics that are from the same set as the commander. And if that doesn't matter, then I don't. Shadow Spear, that's kind of a staple for me. If you have single target removal, you may as well throw a Shadow Spear in it, just in case someone's rocking Hexproof and Indestructible. I mean, the Trample and Lifelink is nice. And notice it's a legendary artifact, so it's one of the ones that Stangg Twin wouldn't be able to have. Just a thing to notice. Brotherhood Regalia, to make it can't be blocked. And, you know, also War 2, not insignificant. Hexproof and Auto Merc Death Touch creatures that try to block it, or that you block with your creature. Can't be blocked except by walls. Can't be blocked. I probably leaned really heavily into that and probably could take out a bunch of that and just put in more stuff that does damage. But I guess I'm more of a defensive player even when I'm attacking. Champion's Helm at least increases their power and toughness in addition to giving hexproof. Dark Plate, Mithril Coat. See, this is another one. So this is less likely to go on Stangg unless like we're holding it off for flash to prevent removal. But this could go onto one of our other pieces that we don't want to get destroyed. Whisper Silk Cloak for Shroud. You do have to be careful with how you order triggers, I think, when Stangg Twin comes into play, to make sure all the stuff that doesn't give it Shroud gets equipped after the stuff that gives Shroud. Though, you can really only have one thing that has Shroud. Hammer of Nizan, you know, free equips. Which is actually mildly interesting. Because I believe, because Stangg, when creates the Stangg Twin and all those artifacts, all those equipments, if Hammer's Nizan is out and you're attacking with things besides Stangg, I think once they come into play, attached to Stangg Twin, but Stangg Twin can be like, oh, because of the Hammer of Nizan, these equipments are going over there. They're going away at the end of the turn, but you can borrow these. Colossus Hammer. Like, the equip cost is steep, and I have no way to cheat that. But, you know, once you get it equipped, it's +10/+10. Oh, this is Xenagos, the one that gives +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the creature's power. Then, you know, generic ramp Goblin Archaeomancer, because we're in the colors of exactly red or green, and it makes spells that are red or green one less to cast. The Signet. Oh, the Erd Heirloom, because Stangg is base power 4, I think. Yep. No, it's 3, so you have to increase it a tiny bit. Where did it go? We're over here. Because this can give a thing with power 4 or greater trample, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. So yeah, you do have to put a little bit of work in it, but we do have other creatures that that have power 4 or greater, like Roxanne. Roxanne's a 4/3. That's wild to me. She got claws. Sakura Tribe-Elder, of course. Sakura Tribe-Elder, a thing that I'm remembering to put into more of my green decks, because it's just rampant growth that's a creature. Rabbit Battery. I put not all, but most of the artifact creature equipment into this deck that could go in here. This gives +1/+1 in haste. This gives +1/+1, and if it's blocked, it deals 1 damage to the defending player anyway. That's non-combat damage, so that probably doesn't matter, but, you know, it's still a point of damage. Lizard Blades to give double strike. Ogre Head Helm, that you can discard your... you can sacrifice it to discard your hand and draw 3 cards. If you're like me and have trouble keeping cards in your hand, you end up not discarding anything and then just drawing 3 cards. Bronze Plate Boar. Equipped creature gets +3/+2 and trample, which is nice. Komainu Battle Armor. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 menace, and when they deal combat damage to a player, go to each creature that player controls, so they're not going to attack you back. Web Spinner Cuff. Equipped creature gets +1/+4 and has reach. Like, the reach doesn't matter so much when we're attacking, but that does make our attacks less dangerous if we don't have any of the indestructible stuff out. Tanuki Transplanter. When it or equipped creature attacks, you gain an amount of green equal to its power, and then you don't lose that until the end of your turn. You know, just for stuff to make your main phase 2 casting easier. Basilisk Collar, Death Touch, Lifelink. Notice we haven't had anything that was legendary in a while. We're in removal. Berserk, because I'm like, wait a minute, this card's really good. Like, I used to be smooth-brained about this and go, well, we only cast this on our own creatures. But no, you cast it on someone else's creature, give them a good attack, or make them trade more favorably when they get blocked. And then if they live, this destroys them anyway. I do like that we can cast this either to keep staying around if it gets targeted by something, or we can cast it before we attack to get extra damage in. I do like my Pest Infestation to get those pests that when they die we gain a life, and also, you know, destroys a bunch of artifacts and or enchantments. And yep, now we're in our normal... Oh, Fall of the Hammer. Because I wanted to fill up my removal, but green doesn't have a lot of great creature removal, so got to put in the fight spells. But there was so much green in this deck, I wanted to put in the 2 red instant punch spells, and one of them's Fall of the Hammer. Sorry, both my nose and my stomach are bothering me. Getting belches and like stuffy nose signals. Very annoying. When Hunter Bow enters the battlefield, attach it to target creature you control. That creature deals damage equal to its power to up to one target creature you don't control. And then equip creature has reach and ward 2. That's sweet because when it comes out, it's auto-attached to Stangg, so that don't matter. Or Stangg's twin. But you can attach, but since it's coming into the battlefield, you can attach it to original Stangg, or just reattach it to Stangg's twin. I'm sure that works. And if it don't, you just put it on another creature, and then you get that again. Then we got our Mortars, Nylea's Intervention that I put in removal because I'm more likely to deal damage to creatures with flying than not. There's the other red Bite spell, and it's even better because it gives +1/+0 until end of turn to make the Bite slightly better. Ram through because if we get trample on our creature, excess damage is dealt to the controller. And then, yeah, once again I wanted to fill out my removal, so I put in removal. I don't think is good, but sure, will be fun with the Wild Magic Surge. And you'll see the other ones where they either do get to replace the card we destroyed or exiled, or they may get something. Beast Within, Classic, Chaos Warp, that's what I was talking about. Delayed Blast Fireball, Guthrie Writes History, Transforming Flourish, Chishiro, the Shattered Blade. Whenever an aura or equipment enters the battlefield under your control, you get a 2/2 red spirit creature token with Menace. That's pretty sweet. And then at the beginning of your end step, put a +1/+1 counter on each modified creature. I think if we're allowed to do our triggers in the order that we want, at our end step, if we did the thing with the Hammer of Nizan, which I think is also legendary, so that's another thing that Stangg doesn't need to have equipped to himself, even though it does give +2/+0, is that if you have Stangg Twin because of Hammer of Nizan, passing out his bonus equipment, before those get sacrificed, you can put +1/+1 counters on the creatures that have those equipment on them with Chishiro. If I'm correct about the order that you can do things in and having a choice in that. So that's this deck. There's not a whole lot of creatures, which is why this guy definitely made it in. Because he makes a bunch of creatures depending on how much stuff is equipped to Stangg. I do like Dan Lewis a lot now. I was probably down on him before, but then like turning treasures into these little dinky equipments is funny to me. There were other things that could have made it into the deck, like there's what was it, Jahara, who says that you can tap artifact tokens for green. She could have made it into this deck, but we really, honestly, we really didn't need that with all the various forms of ramp that we have. Yeah, I put them all in the same section called Reconfigure. We don't have that much equipment either, just 10, 11, 12, 13, right? 10, 11, 12, 13. Oh, nope, 14. Oh, okay, all of these. 14. That's 22. I was wrong. But then we minus the ones that are legendary. So 22, 21, 20, 19, 19. That, and then all of our treasures if Dan is out. I probably could have done better, but you can really just tell my personality. And there's a bunch of things that didn't end up in this deck if you're familiar with other episodes. Like, I didn't put Argentum Armor in here because Argentum Armor triggers on attack, and when Stangg Twin comes into play, he's already attacking. Oh, another thing I should point out, both Stangg and Stangg Echo Warrior make Stangg Twin. Like, exact same name, exact same stats, both legendary. So you don't really want to play Stangg when Stangg Echo Warrior is out. But it doesn't matter. I'm still leaving Stangg in the deck because I want to. That's my reasoning. So we're gonna do this just because I'm making it a tradition now. There are no printings to optimize, so we can close this. Next is I'm on a rampage. That is a reference to a Strong Bad email where he does poetry slam poorly because all he says is the phrase I'm on a rampage. And then like Coach Z says something weird after. And Strong says like, what are you even doing? But it's also a reference to Marhault Elsdragon, who has the ability Rampage, which is a very old ability that they stopped printing because they made better versions of it. Though I do miss Rampage, for the record. Rampage says, creature gets +X for each creature blocking it after the first. So Rampage 1 is +1/+1. General Marhault Elsdragon gives superior Rampage to all creatures. It's 2 red-green for a 4/4 Elf Warrior. Whenever a creature you control becomes blocked, it gets +3/+3 until end of turn for each creature blocking it. So it counts the first one. They could give this a keyword. They can give it its super Rampage. So now we have Enduring Courage. Whenever another creature you control enters, it gets +2/+0 and gains haste until end of turn. That's the main reason why it's in the deck. Is just so our creatures can attack as soon as they come into play. And then if Enduring Courage dies, it returns as an enchantment. Ogre Battle Driver, exact same thing, but it can't return as an enchantment. And then this is a whole section, right? Yep. A whole section called Bait. So they are creatures of various powers. It says all creatures able to block it do so. Although I think one is slightly worse, and we'll get to it when we get to it. All creatures able to block do so. So this must be blocked if able and has a native haste. So you only need to block it with one creature. But it still made the cut, because I think it's the only red one. Must all creatures able to block it or enchanted creature do so. So you can do, so it's a 1/1 creature for 3, or an enchant creature aura for 6. And so the enchantment creature gets the ability is, I call it, I put Bait there, but like the original aura that did it was called Lure, Lure. And then enchanted creature gets the +1/+1 because that's how these things work. Golgari Decoy. It has an ability that probably doesn't matter, but it does have all creatures able to block do so. Scavenge for 3 and 2 green. Exile this card from your graveyard. Put a number of +1/+1 counters equal to this card's power on target creature activate only as a sorcery. So for 5 mana, you can put 2 +1/+1 counters on a thing. That feels like, oh, I have extra mana and limited, and things aren't really going well. But whatever. Prize Unicorn. All creatures that can block. All creatures able to block. All creatures able to block. And when it comes into play, you clash, which means both players reveal the top card of their library, and then they can either leave it on the top or put it on the bottom. But the person whose card that was revealed this way has the highest mana value, they win. So if we win, this thing comes into play as a 5/3. Otherwise, it's just a 4/2. That clash part really doesn't matter. All creatures able to block it do so, and then when it dies, we draw 3 cards. This is another Eldrazi, and I have started giving some Eldrazi passes, either because I don't plan on attacking them and they have an ability I like, or because they don't have Annihilator, which is an ability I do not like. Annihilator says that when this thing attacks, your opponent sacrifices permanence equal to the Annihilator value. Gross. And then original Marhault Elsdragon. It's 6 mana for a 4/6 with Rampage 1. This actually probably makes it one of the better legends from the Legends set. Which is the set the Elder Dragon Legends came from. That commander, aka Elder Dragon Highlander, was originally named after. Only one of them was good. Only Nicobolus. Because they all had upkeep costs of 3 mana of its colors. 1 of each. But at least Nicobolus had a good ability. The others just stank up the room. And I think there were only 5. Because I think they were the same as the Tarkir. No, not the Alara shards, because one of them is Grixis. Nicobolus is Grixis colored. This spell can't be countered. Indestructible. Toski Bearer of Secrets attacks each combat if able. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. That's why it's in the deck. Primal Rage gives all of our stuff trample. Gives all of our stuff trample and removes trample from other people's stuff. Gives our stuff trample, and also if we happen to cast a big creature, power 4 or greater, we draw a card. All of our stuff has trample. All of our stuff have trample. Our stuff has uber trample because they can, if they have trample, they can assign their combat damage as if they weren't even blocked. All of our stuff has trample. All of our stuff has trample. All of our stuff has trample, but also, whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your turn, it gets a +1/+1 counter and haste until end of turn. As long as you control your commander, Thunderfoot Baloth gets +2/+2, and other creatures also get +2/+2 and have trample. And this thing also has trample. This thing has trample in Ward 2, but then all of our other creatures will also have trample in Ward 2. Combat Celebrant gives us extra combats. Anzrag, the Quake Mole, can theoretically give us extra combats if it's blocked. And then we can pay a lot of mana to make sure that it gets blocked. Karlach gives us an extra combat. Port Razor can give us several extra combats. And then are going to be exactly the same, exactly the same lands. Brash Taunter, because he's indestructible, and if it's dealt damage, we can do that much damage to target opponent. And then we can also make it fight stuff. That's always funny. And then our unexciting ramp package even has the Herd Heirloom and Sakura Tribe Elder and the Goblin Archaeomancer. Berserk, yep, this is going to be exactly the same as well. So you just get to see the arts again. Quartzwood Crasher, it has trample, and then whenever one or more creatures you control with trample deal combat damage to a player, create an XX green dinosaur beast creature token with trample, where X is the amount of damage those creatures dealt combined to that player. So you only get 1 beast per player. But that's neat and fun. That's why it's in the deck. And then we're back to Marhault Elsdragon. This is like a very simple deck that also I did not put, like, I don't have any of my protection artifacts that you might have seen in a lot of other decks, or my destroy stuff on enter the battlefield artifacts that I've put in a lot of decks. This one I was just focused on, let's just cast creatures and turn them sideways. That's all I care about, is turning creatures sideways. And then with a responsible removal and ramp section. And a completely irresponsible card draw section. Let's go up here. See if anything's changed. Nope. Okay. And now we have Krosa, starring Jeska, Thrice Reborn. This is a really good commander that people tend to put in decks better than this one. I could have gone a lot deeper on the theme with this one, I realized, and that to make the deck actively worse. To justify putting Jeska's will in it just because it's her. That's a thing I might do, but I'm probably not going to do now. If I have a ton of time at the end, I probably will just look for everything that's from Krosa except for that one thing with Grandeur, because that's an ability that doesn't work in Commander. I'm not even going to say what Grandeur does because it's dumb. It is 100% irrelevant to Commander. So we're not going to worry about it. So Jeska, Thrice Reborn, is 3 mana for a 0 loyalty Planeswalker that says Jeska, Thrice Reborn enters the battlefield with a loyalty counter on it for each time you've cast your commander from the command zone this game. So if you cast her and you haven't cast any other commanders, she comes in with 1 loyalty counter. Which is fine. That is all you need. And notice she doesn't have any plus abilities, which is very interesting as well. For 0, choose target creature. Until your next turn, if that creature would deal combat damage to one of your opponents, it deals triple that damage to that player instead. Which is interesting because you don't have to choose a creature you control. You can be like, hey, you, on your next turn, if you don't attack me, that thing can do triple damage. So that's nice. And then if you actually do get more than 0 or more than 1 loyalty counter on her, you can do -X, where Jeska, Thrice Reborn deals X damage to each of up to 3 targets, which is neat and all, but honestly, the 0 is fine. And like I said, she's a good commander, I think, at least for this and this. Or at least an abusable commander, if you choose a partner for her that doesn't cost more mana, that doesn't cost more than twice the amount of mana that she does. But Kamahl, Heart of Krosa, is Jeska's brother, if I'm not mistaken. She's a barbarian. You can't really tell because she's a planeswalker, so they're not going to put that on her type line. And he is a druid. Though he is a druid that carries a sword, tell you what, he is not no... Whatever you think a druid is, he is the badass version of it. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna be fine with saying that particular cuss word. So 6 and 2 green for a 5/5. That's a lot. Ain't getting him out very early, even with green on the table. At the beginning of combat on your turn, creatures you can control gain get +3/+3 and gain trample until end of turn, which is neat as heck. And then for 1 and a green, you can say until end of turn, target land you control becomes a 1/1 elemental creature token, or elemental creature with vigilance, indestructible, and haste. It's still a land, so that's neat. So it's effectively a 4/4 because if because you're doing that. So it's either a 4/4 on your turn or a 1/1 indestructible blocker if you emergency have the mana for it on someone else's turn. And then when I was putting this deck together, I just started putting random stuff that looked good because there really wasn't a whole lot going on. So we have Helena and Elena partners, who has first strike and reach, which is neat. And at the beginning of combat on your turn, put X plus mobilism counters on another target creature control, where X is their power, which is 2 at base. And then that creature gains haste on the turn. So at least, additional things to get haste on stuff. Augur of Autumn to play lands from the top of our library, and theoretically at some point in the future cast spells or cast creature spells from the top of our library. And then there's a lot of creatures in this deck, so we went Beast Whisperer. Cast a creature spell, draw a card. Toski Barrier's Secrets, deal damage to a player, draw a card. Elder Gargaroth, because it's just... I still feel this is a solid card. It's mythic rare, so that's why it gets away with being a 6/6 with Vigilance, Reach, and Trample for 5. And then whenever it attacks or blocks, you either get a 3/3 Beast Tree creature token, 3 life, or draw a card. This makes all of our attackers have Death Touch. And this is the kind of thing I didn't put in the previous deck, because I didn't want to automatically discourage blocking by having stuff like Death Touch. I mean, I had Trample already on a lot of things, but I wanted people to think, like, maybe maybe they'll block, maybe they won't. And I felt like Death Touch was just like an extra layer on top that I didn't need to do. Even though I had all those things that had to be blocked. So I could go back and like put this and Bow of Nylea in the deck. I'm not going to. Apex Devastator just for the quadruple cascade. Ghalta Primal Hunger. Because if we cast it in our main phase 2, it's probably only gonna it'll probably only cost 2. That's although at that point we probably have Kamahl out, so it might not even matter. I just like Ghalta. She's just a big stompy dinosaur, living her best life. We have the Quake Mole again, Karlach again, Port Razor again, but we don't have the Combat Celebrant this time. And then Samey lands. Oh, we have the Embodiment of Fury. Oh, right. Because one of our 2 commanders can turn lands into creatures. Land creatures you control have Trample. Sure, why not? Land creatures you control have Vigilance. Sure, why not? But then they also have Landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may have target land you control become a 3/3 elemental creature token with haste that's still land. That's until end of turn. This does the same thing. Then we have Sylvan Advocate. As long as you control 6 or more lands, Sylvan Advocate and land creatures you control get +2/+2. Xenagos again, giving +X/+X to a thing where it's equal to that power. Doubles the power of each creature you control until end of turn. Untaps a forest. So yeah, we have a couple of extra ramp pieces in this one just because Kamahl is so expensive. So I'm like, let's just put out a lot of things to make sure we can get to Kamahl. Herd Heirloom again. For any Stompy deck, I feel like it's definitely a borderline staple now. Blossoming Tortoise. Whenever Blossoming Tortoise enters the battlefield or attacks, mill 3 cards. Then return a land card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. I'm not a big fan of milling myself, but, you know, whatever. And then activate abilities of lands you control cost 1 less to activate. Land creatures you control get +1/+1. Goreclaw, Terror of Calcisma. Creature spells you cast with power 4 or greater cost 2 less to cast. Hey, our commander costs 8 and has 5 power. So this at least makes it cost 6. And this guy costs 4 to bring out, so that does at least accelerate when we can bring out Kamahl. Then we have Solemn again. Ashaya Soul of the Wild turns all of our creatures into lands. Because they're all of our non-token creatures are forest lands now, so they get the bonuses from those other guys. And then I just like the Ancient Copper Dragon and Old Gnawbone to give me treasures. Berserk, blah, blah, blah. this should be all, yep, nothing new here. Oh wait, no, I saw someone different. Reclamation Sage enters the battlefield as a 2/1, but also destroys an artifact or enchantment. It's an elf shaman. That's like a thing that I didn't really try to do, but we do have a lot of shamans and druids in this deck. Terror of the Peaks, like generic good card again. Spells your opponents cast that target Terror of the Peaks cost an additional 3 life, and then whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, Terror of the Peaks deals damage equal to that creature's power to any target. So yeah, there are definitely some generic stuff in here, and then like, oh yeah, also when whenever a creature we control deals combat damage to a player, we draw a card. Forgot that part. This deck is mostly green, but yeah, I didn't really have a lot to go on, but I do like how everything, except for like the Port Razor and Karlach, a lot of this stuff here is at home in the forest. Or at worst, mountains near a forest. Never mind the sad robot sitting over here. He's sad because he goes and get every deck and doesn't get to ever have a vacation. Ugh, ever yawn so hard your neck starts to hurt? And this one is the most different of the Gruul decks, and also the last Gruul deck. Look Up, The Sky Is Falling is a music reference to Robotech, the third generation with the Invid Invasion. I think that was Genesis Runner Mospeda was the original that they adapted into their Robotech franchise. Genesis Runner or Genesis Climber, Mospeda. I've never seen the original of that. Just like I have never seen the original Southern Cross, which is what the second Macross generation is based off of. I've only seen the original Macross, which is what the original Robotech was based off of, and no, I haven't seen the movies in their original non-Macross or their non-Robotech forms. I own all the Robotech books. They're very short little novels, and I love them. So anyway, Roxanne, Starfall Savant. 3 red-green for a 4/3 cat druid. Whenever Roxanne Starfall Savant enters the battlefield or attacks, we get a meteorite. I remember this text from earlier. But we'll just say it again for posterity. When meteorite enters the battlefield, it deals 2 damage to any target. Neat. Plus, it also has tap, add 1 mana of any color. Whenever you tap an artifact token for mana, add 1 mana of any type of the that the token produced. And I think treasures tap to sacrifice, which is why I have it coming. Yeah, because having so you're tapping them for mana. So I do believe she doubles treasures. Correct me if I'm wrong. Delena Wild Mage to get more temporary Roxannes, because that's funny. Whenever she attacks, choose target creature you control and roll a d20. Create a tapped and attacking for 1 through 14. Create a tapped and attacking token that's a copy of that creature, except it's not legendary and has exile this creature at the end of combat. And then for 5 through 20, you do the above, but you get to roll the dice again. There is an errata that this is optional. Otherwise, you could be stuck turning the game into a draw if you keep rolling 15 to 20. Which is possible if you have things that manipulate the number of dice that you can roll. Helm of the Host to make more Roxannes. You know, because we want the sky to fall. Ortheon to make more Roxannes, who do immediately go away because this does not take away the legend status. I feel he should, because these are temporary copies, but that's not a thing they did. And then we have Panharmonicon. So whenever an artifact or creature entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, it triggers an additional time. This means that when Roxanne enters, if Panharmonicon is already out, which means you drew it and played it the turn before because this does cost 1 less, Roxanne enters and you get 2 meteorites, and then because those meteorites are artifacts, they do 2 damage twice. Parallel Lives gives us double the meteorites when she enters or attacks. Roaming Throne causes her to trigger twice on entering and attacking. Wolfgar, Icewind Dale, doubles her attack triggers and doubles Delena's triggers when she attacks to make more Roxanne. Because he doesn't care about specific creatures or anything. Roaming Throne, you have to pull out a type. And she's a cat druid, and I don't think... Like, that's an elf shaman, that's not the same. By the way, this is really cool art. And then we have Idol of Oblivion, because we can draw cards for making tokens, and hey, that's what we're doing. Tome of Legends, we can draw cards. It's slightly more expensive because we have to pay 1, but we put counters on this to turn them into page, so that we can turn into card draw whenever, and we want to attack with Roxanne because it's cool to make more meteorites. And then Gilgamesh is a human samurai, so also not a cat or druid, but Panharmonicon and Wolfgar will still... sorry, scratching my back, and it's a really good scratch. But the Panharmonicon and Wolfgar will still double both of his triggers. So when Gilgamesh enters or attacks, look at the top 6 cards of your library. I've won games on Arena with this because, yeah, I got Helm of the Host on him really early, and that is just gross as heck. You can look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may put any number of equipment cards from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest at the bottom of your library in a random order. When you put 1 or more equipment on the battlefield this way, you may attach them to a samurai you control. Yeah. Now imagine Wolfgar out, or Panharmonicon, or him being equipped with Helm of the Host, and then you're just pulling all of your equipment out of your deck. Even if you don't have a whole lot of equipment, you're just cycling through your deck to look for it. That can backfire if you accidentally put something you really wanted at the bottom of your deck. But like this guy costs 6, so by the time this guy comes down, you've already you're pretty deep in. And then the exact same lands. We get to look at the pictures again really quick. Oh wait, we have a new section. This section makes this deck objectively the most different than the other Gruul decks today. This section is called Meteors. Oh, I should put Tella in here, even though I don't think he'll trigger. Oh, I think he's also Is It. Never mind. But if he's, I'll have to check. I'm gonna check to see if he's mono red, because he cares about Meteor. Anyway, Meteor Crater. Again, reprinted in this. Choose a color of a permanent you control, add 1 mana of any color. So if you control no permanents with colors, this doesn't add anything. So that makes it kind of bad. But, 1, this art is really cool. And 2, it's a Meteor Crater. She's into meteors. That's the reason why this is in the deck. Same thing with Meteor Shower, with flavor text from Jaya Ballard, Task Mage. Meteor Shower costs double X and a red. So double X means you pay X twice. So to get 1X, you need to pay 2. I remember thinking this card was so cool back in the day because I compared it to Fireball, and I was like, this may or may not be better than Fireball because you had to pay 2X for 1 point of damage, and Fireball was 1X. But Fireballs made you pay an additional point of mana for each target past the first. This one, you just pay for damage, and then you divide it. I'd actually have to look at Fireball to see if it's X damage to each or X damage divided. So it really, I really don't know. They're probably not really as comparable as I think they are. But I just remember really liking this back in the day. So it deals X plus 1. So for 1 red, it'll do 1 damage at sorcery speed for what that's worth. Which I believe is what we call minimally acceptable for a spell. It deals X plus 1 damage divided away you choose amongst any number of targets, because this is old wording that didn't know that planeswalkers in battles were going to exist. Meteor Storm, this is an objectively bad card that's only in here because it has the word meteor on it. So it is red-green for an enchantment that says 2 red-green, discard 2 cards at random from your hand. Which I think, because of the wording, we don't actually need to have cards in our hand. Someone can fact-check me on that by looking it up. But Meteor Storm will then do 4 damage to target creature or player, which I believe is, again, also any target. Which still isn't that great because it costs 4. Meteor Blast, it's X red, red, red. It deals 4 damage to each of X targets, which is neat. Then you have Meteor Swarm, which is also X red, 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 which deals 8 damage divided as you choose among X number of target creatures and or planeswalkers. And that's not any target, because since planeswalkers existed, they know exactly what they're doing. This does not deal damage to players or battles. I was about to continue like there was another type, but there isn't. Meteorite, just so I can have the original at its full 5 mana value. 1 mana of any color. When it enters the battlefield, it does 2 damage to a target. Then Shivan Meteor, 3 red red, for it deals damage to 13 damage to target creature. But you can also suspend it for 3, where in 2 turns it'll do 13 damage to target creature. I do like that. Meteoric Mace. It made it into the deck because it has Meteor in the title. And I choose to assume that this is a mace that has a piece of Meteor as its head. And then it gives +4, +0, and trample, which is not the worst thing at all. It does cost 6, but it does have Cascade, so that mitigates it. Cascade means that when you cast this spell, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card that has less mana value, and then you cast that spell. No, you may cast that spell without paying its mana cost, and then any spells that you did not cast are put at the bottom of your library in a random order. And then I'm so glad Final Fantasy came out, because we have Ultimate Magic Meteor. 5 and a red for Ultimate Magic Meteor, deals 7 damage to each creature. If this spell is cast from exile, for each opponent, choose an artifact or land that player controls, destroy the chosen permanents. And then you can foretell it, which means you can pay 2 to set it off to the side face down. And then on a later turn, you can cast it for the foretell cost, which is the exact same as its original mana cost, which is fair. Normally, it costs more, because it'll be like, if you cast it for foretold, you get an extra benefit. Otherwise, it would cost less, because they would at least take the 2 off of it. They didn't do that here because this is that good. Well, they didn't take it off of it because it does have this, if it was cast from exile, which is interesting because it also means that if you get this off Cascade, which our one thing that we have Cascade won't because this is the same mana value, but that's neither here nor there. Meteor Golem. It's like, oh, this time the meteor was a golem. Star of Extinction. I am surprised I found this. Because it doesn't say meteor anywhere on it. Destroy target land. Star of Extinction deals 20 damage to each creature and each planeswalker. Normally I don't run board wipes that can clear my own stuff, but this is just funny. Shadow Spear because I like running it. Make our commander unblockable. Protect our commander. Make our commander mostly unblockable. Make our commander unblockable. Protect our commander. Protect our commander. Commander unblockable. Protect our commander. Technically, we don't have to protect our commander from this, but boy, putting this armor on her is really cool. And then Soul Ring. Still running my standard Gruul ramp package because she costs 5, so we want to get her out as soon as possible. Cemetery Prowler. Whenever Cemetery Prowler enters the battlefield or attacks, you might have noticed I put that on a lot of creatures since I might as well have more things take advantage of Panharmonicon and Wolfgar than just my commander. So when it enters the battlefield or attacks, exile a target card from a graveyard. Spells you cast cost 1 less for each card type they share with cards exiled with Cemetery Prowler. Knuckles the Echidna, on the off chance that we can get 30 or more artifacts into play to win. Also, it makes treasures. Nothing wrong with making treasures. Good old Solemn Simulacrum. Galadriel the Gift Giver. When she enters or attacks, we can put a +1/+1 counter on a thing, create a food, or create a treasure. Overlord of the Hauntwoods. So these things that create treasures or foods are also taking advantage of the parallel lives. Just reorganizing how I am sitting. Overlord of the Hauntwoods. We can cast it for its impending cost, which means it is not a creature until all of those counters are removed, and you remove a counter at your end step. And whenever Overlord of the Hauntwoods enters or attacks, create a tapped colorless land token named Everywhere. That is every basic land type. Like, there's an excessive amount of ramp, mostly because I do have a lot of X spells in the deck, so at least I don't feel silly for having all this ridiculous ramp. Ancient Copper Dragon to make treasures. Old Gnawbone to make treasures. I just like having them. And Berserk, and nothing new here, I don't think. Oh, all of the wild magic ones, like Chaos Warp and that, those were removed to make room for meteorites and stuff. I think I took out the... Yeah, and I also took out the fight spells. Yeah. Or the punch spells. Hellkite Tyrant, when it deals combat damage to player, gain control of all artifacts they control. Not a fan of that part because I don't like stealing. So maybe we just don't attack with this dragon. But it's like Knuckles, but with 10 fewer artifacts. Beginning of our upkeep, if we control 20, we win the game. You know, just if nothing else is going on, we can at least just win the game on our upkeep. Inferno Titan, it has fire breathing, but also, whenever it enters or attacks, it deals 3 damage divided as you choose amongst 1, 2, or 3 targets, which is neat. So you either Lightning Bolt, or Shock and Spike, or 3 spikes. Overlord of the Boiler Bilges, it also has impending, but when it enters or attacks, it deals 4 damage to any target. So yeah. This is another turn a lot of things sideways, but it's also ramp like crazy, we hope. And then also silly things with meteors. I like this deck a lot. I like this deck a lot for the bad cards that are in it. But now I'm going to go in here and go, oh, wait, no. Meteor. So this is not how I found Star of Extinction. It might have been in here. I don't know why I looked, because it removes stuff when it's in your deck. Yeah, I have no idea how this it must have been in the recommended and EDA track, because there's someone else must have had the same goofy idea. And cis, bro, or other, oh, I guess sibling, just non-gendered sibling, thank you for all of you, I guess, because more than one person would have needed to have it in their deck, for having that, for putting this, because it's technically meteors. That's not talking about meteors, I don't think. That certainly isn't. Star mounts maybe a place that has a lot of meteors. And the sun is certainly a star. And that certainly is funny. To throw out the orbital death laser, but no, none of these make it in. But now I'm going to check to see if Tella is it or mono red? T-E-L-L-A-H. Yep. So Tella wants to cast a meteor, and that's what this 8 or more mana spent to cast a spell was. Part of his ability. So he doesn't make it into this deck. That's unfortunate. But that's the way it goes with color identity. Let's optimize printings just in case something changed between yesterday. Oh, the roaming throne had a mild change. Overwrite the one card. So yeah, no, that was all the Gruul stuff. That was fun. Unlike some other days, I do like every single deck that I put together. I really am a fan of Roxanne because I like cats. I like cat girls, even though she's super furry. So she's more in head pats territory than anything else. But I would definitely give her hugs because she looks like she's living her best life and has a lot of enthusiasm, and also apparently has a Jacobo. So I think we would get along. Well, as much as you can get along with a cat, you know how it is. And because we're only an hour in, we're going to go to our Selesnya. This is a deck that was mildly difficult to put together because our commander doesn't really do much, and so this ended up just a lot of generic Selesnya stuff. So what we have is Torsten, founder of Benalia. Someone sent me a message. I probably should have checked it before now, but you know, it's been 15 minutes, but I'm just going to type a reaction to that message. For the record, I believe it's a video game. Love and Deep Space has a period tracker and characters react to it. That is neat. That is a neat thing they did for that game and or show or whatever it is. When Torsten, founder of Benalia, enters the battlefield, reveal the top 7 cards of your library. Put any number of creature and or land cards among them into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in random order. When Torsten dies, we get 7 1/1 white soldier creature tokens. I don't think I did a whole lot with the soldier token part of it, but I did a lot with the this super draw ability. Now, Torsten costs 5 a green and a white, so we probably need a lot of ramp to get there. And then we have Elish Norn, which costs the exact same amount as our commander. Elish Norn says, this is a real language, by the way, but I still hate these cards. The only reason why it's in here is because when I did a go to least expensive, that's what happened. $750 for this secret lair. But it's the least expensive because even though this one is foil, people want this because it's foil. They don't want this because it's hard to read. It is funny, the disparity. But what's the next cheapest? Weirdly enough, it's the one that I would pick, this one. I like the black and white art. So, she's a 4/7 with vigilance, and that other creatures you control get +2/+2. Other creatures your opponents control get -2/-2. She's just generic, get wrecked. Teleportation circles, so we can blink our commander and look at more cards. Conjurer's Coslet does the same. You can only do one of them on the same creature a turn, for the record. And then Panharmonicon, so we can look at twice as many cards. Roaming Throne, so we can look at twice as many cards. Our commander is a human soldier, for the record, so that's probably important. Elish Norn, because it'll double our trigger and then mess up our opponent's triggers, so they get none. And Gandalf lets us cast legendary spells and artifacts as though they had flash. Plus, also, if a legendary permanent or artifact entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability, it does it twice. So this is just to look at more cards. Just look at more cards. That's all we want to do. We just want to activate the neuron that likes drawing cards and looking at cards from our deck. Esper Sentinel, a generic early play. Archivist of Ogma for some card draw if our opponents use fetch lands, because they're probably not using a whole lot of tutors in the games I play. Mangar the Diplomat, some generic white value when our opponents do stuff. Toski Barris Secrets, generic green card draw. Trouble in Pairs. Galta, just because she's big girl. She's big girl, do stomp. Craterhoof and Moonshaker, because that's how generic I got it in here. And that's why it's more like Benalia. And then we have a bunch of cards that tell us we have no maximum hand size, because I felt that was important. Oh, but one of them lets our opponents draw additional cards. But they also have to discard a card. So this is kind of oh, I hope everyone's okay with this. And that's the only time they discard, because they don't discard during their cleanup step. Vincer's General is an expensive version of that, but then we also gain life for each card in our hand. Praetor's Council. This is a card I haven't put in a whole lot of decks. But it costs one more than our commander, and says return all cards from your graveyard to your hand, exile this spell, then you have no maximum hand size for the rest of the game. And then nothing interesting in the Selesnya land base other than to remind everyone that Krosa and Verge exists. It's basically Selesnya specific Myriad Landscape, but you don't have to grab basics, and one has to be a plains and one has to be a forest, instead of them sharing a type. Because all the way up to this tap symbol, Myriad Landscape is exactly the same as this card. Actually, no. All the way up to the word sacrifice. But then it says sacrifice, Myriad Landscape, search your library for 2 basic lands that share a land type, and put them into the battlefield, tapped, then shuffle. Oh, if we attack with 3 or more creatures, we can use this to draw a card. If we end up discarding stuff, we can use this to start putting stuff back in our library. Or just put stuff back in our library in general. And Reliquary Tower to have the land that gives us no maximum hand size. Again, this is some generic value. During our turn, our opponents can't cast spells or activate the abilities of artifacts, creatures, or enchantments. Arbor Elf to untap a forest. Avacyn's Pilgrim because it taps for white. And then the other mana dorks because we want to get to our commander. Herd Heirloom. Our commander is like a 7/7 or something, so that's fine. The diamonds, yep, nope, nothing surprising here. Thought Vessel, once again, no maximum hand size. We really want to make sure that that's a thing. Oh, Decanter of Endless Water also says that, and then it taps for mana of any color. Old Gnawbone again generic. Then generic Selesnya removal. I don't think there's anything interesting here. Ancient Gold Dragon to make more creatures. Notice I didn't have anything that like increased the amount of tokens I make, because like I said, I did not care about this second part. This small sentence down here just doesn't matter to me. Like, but the rest of the deck is super generic. All we want to do is get to our commander and then just rifle through our deck as quick as possible. And then maybe something in here wins. Like, a better deck would use... Well, a better deck wouldn't have this commander, because that's 7, jeez. This is definitely some battle cruiser, hey, look at all the cards in my deck. Which I'm fine with, but again, it's banal. So the last deck that I have set up is the Talentless. This is actually kind of an anime reference because there's an anime called None of the Talentless. Man, give that a watch. I hope its second season comes out soon because it was a really enjoyable anime. So, Jasmine Boreal of the 7. She is a Legends Retold. I did not put her basic version in here, even though it technically fits. Because creatures you control with no abilities can't be blocked by creatures with abilities. But her base version, despite having no abilities, just sucked too much. That's just all that there is to it. It didn't make the cut because it wasn't good enough. And I put some garbage in here. But we can tap her to get a green and a white to spend this mana only to cast creatures with no abilities. We'll get to that. Then we have this card that honestly we could probably take out. It says creatures with no abilities get +2/+2, and there's not that many creatures in here with no abilities. But I put it in here because it said creatures with no abilities. Then we have Ruxa, Patient Professor. Whenever Ruxa, Patient Professor, enters the battlefield or attacks, return target creature card with no abilities from your graveyard to your hand. Neat. Creatures you control with no abilities get +1/+1. Notice she has an ability, by the way. So you may have creatures you control with no abilities assigning their combat damages as though they weren't blocked. So this is kind of like a backup to that part of our commander. Or if our opponent also has creatures with no abilities. Because our commander, if you recall, was like, creatures you control with no abilities cannot be blocked by creatures with abilities. Which is neat as heck, because most people do not play vanilla creatures. That's why this deck is interesting. Then we have Tulsimir Wolfblood, she's 6 mana, but it's an anthem. It's a double anthem for a lot of the stuff in our deck. Or at least for a non-zero number of things in our deck. Other green creatures get +1/+1, other white creatures get +1/+1. And then we can also tap them to make Volja a legendary 2/2 green and white wolf, who is actually a 4/4 because of the double anthem. And that wolf has no abilities, just saying. Elishnorn has abilities, but yeah, we are really just going to do this because I like that one better. But our creatures with no abilities will get an additional +2/+2, and our opponent's stuff will get -2/-2. Eyesight Golem, we have 22 snowlands in the deck, so this is a 2/2 for 1. It's in this deck because it amuses me. It's a ridiculously efficient mana creature, and that's the only reason why it's in this deck. It also has no abilities, because that's reminder text. Isamaru, Hand of Ganda, also a 2/2 for 1. It's funny, because I could have put all kinds of Savannah Lions in here, which are 2/1s for 1, but I just liked the 2/2s for 1. They amused me. We could also have put the 3/1s for 1s, which are called Blades, but I put the 3/3s for 2. No, yeah, 3/1s for 2 are Blades. 3/1s for 1s don't exist, as far as I know. But this is the Killian Tusker. It's 2 green for a 3/3. Then we have Sundial Dawn Tyrant. It's also a 3/3 for 2. And Watchwolf, a 3/3 for 2. Like, I could take out all 5 of those creatures and just put more stuff that makes tokens that don't have abilities. But I liked those creatures. But a definite improvement. And they're also, like, relatively cheap, so they can come out before our 3-mana commander if we draw them. So we can get 2 of those out. In a quote-unquote ideal draw, we get an Eyesight Golem or Ishimaru out, and then either the Tusker, the Tyrant, or the Wolf out, and then on turn 3, we have Jasmine Boreal, which would tap to cast Watchwolf or Sundial Tyrant, assuming we had the Killian Tusker as our turn 2. That's if we drew those specific cards. That's not even Christmas Land. That's just something funny that could happen. Then Kutzil, Malamet Exemplar, says your opponents can't cast spells during your turn. That's just a nice thing to have. And then whenever one or more creatures you control with power greater than their base power deals dynamic damage to a player, draw a card. So anytime one of our talentless creatures deal combat damage to a player, if any of our anthems are in effect, we draw a card. Tribute of the World Tree, because +1/+1 counters aren't abilities. So if we draw a card if it's power 3 or greater, otherwise it gets 2 +1/+1 counters, so it either gets slightly bigger or we draw a card. Then Toski again. Elder Gargaroth, it has abilities, but it makes creatures without abilities. Or gain life or draw a card. The Great Henge puts +1/+1 counters and we draw a card whenever a non-token creature we control comes into play. And then also, we gain 2 life and add 2 green mana for tapping it. And then the strongest thing that we control makes this cost less. Gigantosaurus, it's just a big dumb donkey that is incredibly hard to cast, because that is 5 solid green pips. Then we have Terrian, the World Tyrant. That's the other creature from Aether Drift that's a legendary vanilla. It's a dinosaur ooze. That's wild. But it's a 9/7, so it's technically worse than the Gigantosaurus because it costs 1 more and has worse stats, but, you know, whatever. Then we have, for 6, we have this Quake Strider Ceratops, so it's a 12/8. So those are the talentless creatures we definitely 100% keep, these expensive ones. And then our uninteresting land section. And then our protection section, because we do... a lot of these like this protection section is not for our talentless creatures. It's for our creatures that affect our talentless creatures. Because our creatures would have abilities because equipped creature gets and has, which means they're no longer talentless. But you know, just those things. Unnatural growth to make our stuff bigger. Same with Zopandrel. Then our entire. So here's the funny thing. Herd heirloom. We do this. There's a window between the time that they attack and are not blocked that we can turn this on. They get an ability, but it's too late to block them, so we can deal damage and draw a card. So it's like move to attackers, declare blockers, deal damage. Right before deal damage, you can activate and after declare blockers, you can activate the Herd Heirloom to get your card draw. Oh, and then a nice little funny stacks piece. Activated abilities of creatures can't be activated. I only have 2 creatures with activated abilities. The Mana Dork on my Commander the Mana Dork, and the guy that makes a wolf token by tapping it. Everything else either doesn't have an ability or is a triggered ability. So, it's okay to play stacks in lower power as long as that's not what your whole deck is about. We just have this one stacks piece that just messes with people. Adeline makes us creatures without abilities when we attack. They have to survive. This makes tokens, but they fly. So they have abilities, but that they fly. And you can make a lot of them. That's why this gets a pass. And then the Feng Druid Summoner tutors up a creature with no ability to our hands. And that's that. And we still have basically a half hour before we hit the 2-hour mark, which is a mark I like to be close to. 1:30 isn't the worst, and I really lost track of where I was. So we are going to go here. So, you know what? We will do Orzhov today as well. Oops. I'm just doing my notes to note, because I'm writing down when I recorded these for the record. Whenever I say I'm going to my notes, and then also what it was that I recorded. Because right now, it's the 16th of August. I still have, this is just a peek behind the curtains, I still have 3 more videos that are just waiting to upload, or not upload, but to go live. That's part 30, 31, and 32 of the 32 Deck Week Challenge. Part 30 goes up tomorrow for me, and then a week after that is 31, a week after that is 32. I could wait 3 weeks, basically, before I recorded another episode, and yet I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, I did not. Oh, wait, no, that is from the same thing. That is from a different thing. Oh, no, that is from the same thing. I'm sorry, I'm looking at names. So whatever number I said, we can add another 1, 2 to it. That's how many I have recorded that haven't gone up at the time of this recording. I have content for months, and the reason why I'm recording them early is because as of this time, the Spider-Man set hasn't come out yet, and very little of that is affecting what I'm doing. Like, in the mono green pickup day that also had mono red in it, I had Spider-Ham in there because he was neat. And then there was a Street Fighter day. Dalsim has Aunt May in his deck. Those are the only 2 cards. Well, no, there was also some other Spider-Man cards in the Spider-Ham deck, but that's neither here nor there. But that's the only times that I've used cards from that. And then after that, after the Spider-Man set, I think is the Avatar: The Last Airbender set, which I don't think is going to affect any of my decks either. So that's why I'm getting all of these recordings out of the way. And I don't have, like, you might not, depending on what happens and, like, what decks I want to make, I might actually, like, this might not go live for a while. Because maybe Avatar comes out and I'm like, oh man, I want to make 1 billion decks. And then I actually do that in a timely fashion. Like, all of this is going over old stuff that don't matter to anyone, but anything current. And I might actually start doing stuff in a timely fashion just to maybe get more eyes on my channel. So if you're hearing this, hello from so far in the past. I hope things are better for you than they are right now when I am in space and time. So this is a blot on your permanent record. That is also a music reference. That is not what you come here for, but that's what I give you. It is a song by the Violent Femmes that I don't remember the name of. But it's the one that goes 1, 1, 1 because you left me, 2, 2, 2 for your family or my family. It's that one. I'm fairly certain it's that one. And honestly, if I'm wrong, that's fine. Go listen to the Violent Femmes. They're a good band. In my opinion, at least. So, there's only 70 cards in this deck, so let's see where we went. I am going to preemptively delete all of the lands and re-grab them. Honestly, I'm going to preemptively select and grab all of the removal and just re-grab them. The stuff in the ramp section is fine, but I am going to throw in Solemn Simulacrum. Let's see. Also have Expedition Map in here, probably because I'm like, I throw that in to make sure that I grab Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth. We also have Ink Shield because it's funny. It's basically Arachnogenesis for the Orzhov color pair. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to you this turn. For each 1 damage prevented this way, you get an Inkling. That's wild. Oh, and then we also have Megas of the Coffers over here. Yeah, so. Let's see. So that's some. So let's grab the rest of our mana rocks. There we go. So charcoal diamond, cold steel heart, and marble diamond. Those all come into play tap, but that's fine because they at least add colors, and that gets us to 12 ramp. Although one of these a lot of these cost more than 4 or more. So let's go to 16 ramp. Because, yeah, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yeah, let's be fine with that. So that does mean 4 more pieces. Which means we get to have Mind Stone. Thought Vessel, and the Iron Crag. We definitely have room for 1 more, but there's not another one I'd want to grab. Oh, there is 1 more card in the Spider-Man set, but I'm not putting it in decks right now, and that's the Infinity Stone. Was it the Mind Stone? That's the yellow one, right? No, it's the Soul Stone, duh. And it's also not yellow because the Mind Stone is. That is... Let's see, yeah, we're just going to look at it. This isn't legal yet, but, well, it'll be legal by the time you see this. But it's 1 in a black for an indestructible legendary artifact Infinity Stone. Tap to add black. That's the cool part. And then you can pay 6 in a black, tap, exile creature you control, harness the Soul Stone. And then that means that the Infinity ability can be done. At the beginning of your upkeep, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. And I could have swore this Soul Stone was a different color, but that's fine. Being wrong is acceptable. But yeah, that's not going to go into decks for right now. At least not at time of recording. But this does feel like a staple for black decks, because an indestructible mana rock that has late game upsides. That's just another Shieldred the Apocalypse. No, Shieldred the Whispering One, or Virtual of Persistence. Yeah, this is ridiculous nonsense. Please do not be a spider on my leg. So I'm resisting the urge to put it in now, even though I'm probably going to put it in a lot later, because it's just it's a better charcoal diamond. But I'd probably still put in charcoal diamond. I'd replace one of the ones that does generic mana, if I'm being honest. Well, I could put in Felwar Stone, but I think at this point we're fine. Because one of my things in my head is that anything that costs more than like 2 or 3, I go 2 of them count as 1. So 15, so 14. Technically, it's 13 in my head. Or honestly, we could count it as 12 because this costs a lot more. It's also just a big creature, so it doesn't really matter. So we have 12. Because from here up, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, this isn't even ramp because it doesn't. Hold on. New category. This isn't ramp. This is technically card draw. Oh, that's why I couldn't put it. But we're also going to grab the world map. Oh wait, it's not the world. It's just world. world map. Yeah, they don't put them into play, so they're not ramp. And now I can say we technically have 12 because these 4 together, in my mind, only count as 2 because they're so expensive. Or you can just say anything past Solemn Simulacrum doesn't count as all because you're so late in the day. Nothing else here like has an ability that we're not familiar with. World map is a worse expedition map because it costs 3 to find any land, but it has an alternate case of where you can just pay 1 and sacrifice it to get a basic land. It all goes into your hand, that's why it's in the card draw section, even though it's not really card draw because you're trading a card for it. So I'm actually going to go and just put them in their own little section called maps. And then if I was putting anything else that searched lands to hand, I'd probably rename the section again, but that's just what it is. We'll get to our commander and what he does in a minute, and even though you've probably read it a bunch of times waiting for me to get to it. But we're going to get the rest of our protection stuff. Actually, you know what? Let's get to Killian really quick. It is white-black for a 2/2 human warlock with lifelink and menace. So which means you have to block it with at least 2 creatures, which is cool. Spells you cast that target a creature cost 2 less to cast. That is such an open-ended ability because that's auras, that's combat tricks and single target removal, or multi-target removal that as long as it targets. And then also the mutate ability, if you really want to mess with people. So that's what draws me to him. So T equip O hexproof. We don't really, we want hexproof more than we want, just the Shadow Spear, more than we want Shroud, because Shroud means we can't target stuff with beneficial stuff. I think I'm going to resist the urge for Calder Complete, though. And I think on that same matter of principle, I'm going to take out the Greaves. I'm not entirely sure which direction I'm going to go with this deck yet. But I got to put it back in my lands and my removal. So let's get that out of the way. Oh, wow, we also get to see the last Avatar, the Last Airbender swamps. And then... That's TLA, the Last Airbender. What the heck is this nonsense? Avatar, the Last Airbender Eternal? Oh, that's just confusing. I don't think... Yeah, no, Strixhaven's didn't have any cool lands. But let's go Streets Anu Capenna. Yeah, that's some neat lands for them. Whatever's going on here feels appropriate if you know Killian's lore. His dad's a jerk, for the record. So let's go up out here. T land, T swamp, T plains. We don't need the snow one because we're not doing anything with snowland specifically. We'll do both coffers and the stronghold. And then Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth. So that puts us at 32 lands. Just wanted to do a check before I went over here to the land base button. We'll throw in a command tower. I'd rather have the scry one than the damage one, even though this one comes into play tapped. Oh, the Tainted Field. The Fetid Heath. I don't know how many other humans we're going to have, so I don't really feel like Path of Ancestry-ing. I should double check. Oh, we only need one more. I think I'm just going to Caves of Koilos. There we go. So that's 37 lands. Now let's hit up our removal. Good old Settle the Wreckage. Hoi. Let's go up here. Let's do this. T instant order CMC O target O exile or O destroy. Because this feels slightly faster than trying to remember all of the names. And also we get to look at all these pictures again, so that's at least something for your eyes. That's slightly more interesting than me typing in words. And then also you can go, why didn't you use that card? Not that anyone ever asked me that. Unwanted Remake, which... oh, there's Swords to Plowshares. We are going to Bitter Triumph and Bovine, not cast down. Like, even though we have a commander that lowers the mana cost of our things that target creatures, the single mana ones are still a good value. Even the 2 mana ones, they just become a slightly better value because now they're 1 mana ones if we have our commander in play. We'll Fracture. Like, I like giving the fish with Parting Gust so much, I don't mind that it has no generic pips to reduce. Someone actually cast Shot the Sheriff in a game against me. Assassins, mercenaries, pirates, rogues, and warlocks are outlaws. Everyone else is fair game. I don't know, just part of me just doesn't like the ones that are like, everything except this. Though I do wish Walk the Plank, the one that says non-merfolk, wasn't a sorcery, because I would actually use that one, because that has the least number of, like here's another one that doesn't have any generic pips, but it exiles a thing, and also has alternate modes. Like, a lot of these would actually probably be good, but I just don't, I'd rather stick with the ones that I know are good. Although Generous Gift being 1 mana now, that's neat. Again, assuming our commander is in play. Like, don't play a bad card just because you have another card that makes it less bad. Whoops, I missed you. Vanish into Eternity. It costs 3 more on a creature. So it exiles target thing that is not a creature more often than not. So that's Artifact, Battle, Planeswalker, and Enchantment. You know what? I guess I'll put that in this one. Because, yeah, just another way to get rid of... we are going to Baleful Mastery. We will Deadly Rollick. And then lastly... oh, wait, no, there are more. There are more further down. Because I also forgot way back in the beginning of 3... because I'll be honest, I forgot what colors I was in. Anguished Unmaking, because it does non-land permanents. And there is one more. There it is, Utter End, because it's non-land permanent. And I paid this amount in other colors for this effect, so I'm fine with that. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. I meant to do this, and I meant to go up here. Let's look at my removal section. And it is 23. That's a little high. Let's see, is there anything a little bit too limited? Okay, Drag to the Underworld requires us to have Devotion. We're going down to 18 for the record. Bitter Triumph costs a card or some life. Go for the Throat doesn't hit artifact creatures. Infernal Grasp costs us some life. And Deadly Rollick only hits creatures. There we go. Although so does Bale of the Mastery, but Bale of the Mastery doesn't require us to have our commander in play to be free. This just makes our opponents draw, lets our opponents draw a card, which I'm fine with. It also hits Planeswalkers, doesn't it? Yeah. Not that you see a whole lot of those things anymore. So now we're at 85. The rest of this deck should probably be focusing on stuff that targets our stuff. Okay, yep, okay, I already increased my protection. I'm actually going to do mutate because... Or at least I'm going to look at mutate. So there are 12 cards that mutate anyway. So let's go through them and let's grab them all, then look at them. Oh, whoops. I keep forgetting. So that's back up to 19. I'm going to want to remove another one. I don't know how many humans we have, so we're going to get rid of Dire Tactics. There we go. Don't know where everything is. The thing about mutate is that we cannot mutate onto Killian. So that's probably a bad select all. Is that, yep, okay, that's all 12 of them. I was worried they went to weird places. So maybe we should go in a different direction. Especially since these all end up being just one creature. I'm not going to go into what they do. And also at only 12, it's really not worth it to put them in a commander deck. And two of them don't have mutate themselves, they just want you to mutate other things onto them. You know what would have been faster? Going up here and hitting minus. So what I'm going to do, I mean, I could put a lot of those removal spells back in and just have that be the thing. And just have myself be Mr. Kill all your stuff. But that's not interesting. Which is why I was trying to reduce the number of removal spells I had. In fact, if I do this and go... Whoops, that was dumb. Do this and go... Just to kind of point out that I only have 2 pieces of Mass Disruption. Settle the Wreckage and Helios Intervention. My base removal is at 16, so we could remove another 4. I want to keep stuff that exiles, but I'm willing to get rid of stuff that merely destroys. But stuff that does permanence is fine. You know what? I don't need Withering Torment because I'm in white, so that was silly. This, yeah, that's actually would be better in a different deck because It only makes it cost 1 more to target a creature, but nope. So there, now we're at 14 pieces of removal. Fracture gets Artifact, Enchantment, or Planeswalker. But on top of that, we have Disenchant. I think I'm fine with that now, and that does give us 18 more creature spots, which is not an ideal number of creatures. And the thing is that we have 2 things to search for Yawgmoth, the Tomb of Yawgmoth, but we don't actually have a whole lot of stuff that cares about us having a lot of black mana, so that's just kind of a weird direction that we went in. Kind of on... where was I? On habit from just having black in the deck. So I think just to free up more spots, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to get rid of the coffers, we're going to get rid of the stronghold, and we're even going to get rid of the Tomb of Yawgmoth, because this deck doesn't care about that so much. Which means we can also get rid of this, and this. Now we're down to 11 pieces of ramp. It also means we could probably put in more removal, and again, just be that guy, capital T, capital G. But we'll put in Felbar Stone. Here we go. So now we have 12 pieces of ramp, including the Solemn Simulacrum. So we're going to go over here. We're going to see what kind of creatures they think we should have. SRAM. Because of Aura. Yeah, I understand. Mesa Enchantress. Core Spirit Dancer. Yep, no, I get it. Oh, Bestow. That's actually very interesting. Light Pause. I get it. I get the direction they went. Because when a creature that you've bestowed another creature as a enchantment on it dies, I do believe yeah, when it becomes unattached, you just get the creature. Yeah. Okay. So I don't know about Light Pause, but I do like this idea. Okay, and also it counts as an aura spell for stuff like this. But we also want Mason Trances. Core Spirit Dancer is fun. This Eidolon is cool. Oh, enchantments spells you have affinity for auras. Whenever you cast an aura spell that targets a modified creature control, you draw a card. So if you target something that already has an enchantment on it. See, the Bestow creatures don't have aura in their type line. So that's why Light Pause might not matter, because I don't think I'm gonna have any regular enchantments in this deck. I think I'm gonna go all Bestow. I don't think I'm going to go with Archon of Sun's Grace, even though it's neat. Danitha can make our ores and equipment one cheaper. But okay, yeah, so that's... I don't know how that works with Bestow, though. So I'm probably just going to dodge it. Legendary humans you control have indestructible. And then it has this other thing where you can pay 4 to exile a target card from a graveyard. If it was a creature, you make a human. But we won't do that. We're not doing that. Although it does make my equipment spells cheaper, for the record. Whenever an enchanted creature dies, draw a card for each aura you control that was attached to it. That's interesting, but I don't think we're going to do that either. We will throw in the Risk Tick Buddy just because. We now have 19 more spaces, and see, what I like about this is that it says spells you cast, and casting it for its bestow cost is casting the spell. So let's go bestow. Because the nice thing about bestow, even though sometimes it's a lot more expensive than its regular cost, they're at least just a regular creature if things go sideways. Oh, and there's 19 of them, and one of which we already have in our thing. So let's put theoretically bad cards in our deck. And you know what? While we're here, we will go through them. So Baleful Eidolon is 1 and a black for a 1/1. Says bestow 4 and a black. And then it has Death Touch, and enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has Death Touch. Although, again, with our commander out. Ding. Cavern Lampad, 3 and a black or 5 and a black. +2/+2 and Intimidate. 3 and 2 white or 5 and 2 white. 4/4 flying first strike. Yep. That's, whoops. Forgot to do that. Forgot to do that there too. We were just reading them. Erebos' Emissary. 3 and a black or 5 and a black. Discard a creature card. Erebos' Emissary gets +2/+2 until end of turn. If Erebos' Emissary is an aura, enchanted creature gets +2/+2 end of turn. Enchanted creature gets +3/+3. Sure, why not? Ghostblade Eidolon. 2 and a white or 5 and a white. Double strike. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has double strike. These are not great things. This is not. We are not doing high-end magic here. Glyph Elemental. 1 and a white or 1 and a white. Landfall. When a land enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Glyph Elemental. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each +1/+1 counter on Glyph Elemental. So it doesn't get the 2/2. It only gets the Glyph Elemental. Only gets these +1/+1 counters. So that's probably why the bestow cost is less. Gnarled Scarhide. Either a black or 3 and a black. Enchanted creature gets +2/+1 and can't block. That really should have been less because of that downside. Heliod's Emissary. I forgot to do pluses. We'll just do that at the end. Jeez. 3 and a white or 6 and a white. Whenever Heliod's Emissary or enchanted creature attacks, tap target creature an opponent controls. Sure, why not? Herald of Torment. 1 and 2 black or 3 and 2 black. Flying at the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life. Enchanted creature gets +3/+3 in flying. Our commander has lifelink, so I'm not worried about that. Hopeful Eidolon, either a white or 3 and a white. Enchanted creature has ++1 in lifelink, so we don't put that on our commander because it's redundant. Either a white or 2 and a white for enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has Afterlife 1. And Afterlife means when this is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, aka dies, you get a 1/1 white and black spirit creature token with flying. Night Howler, 1 and a black, or 1 and 2 black, or 2 and 2 black. Night Howler and Enchanted Creature each get +X/+X, where X is the number of creature cards in all graveyards. Okay, sure, why not? Nyxbloom Eidolon. 1 and a black or 4 and a black. Enchanted Creature gets +2/+1. Yeah, these are not great, but that's still. Enchanted Creature gets +1/+2, and it's either a white or 2 and a white. Nyxborn Unicorn. 1 and a white or 3 and a white. Enchanted Creature gets +2/+2 and has Menace. Our commander already has Menace, so this doesn't go on him. Observant Alcide. 2 and a white or 4 and a white. Enchanted Creature gets +2/+2 and has Vigilance. Sightless Brawler. 1 and a white or 4 and a white. Enchanted Creature gets +3/+2 and can't attack alone. That's some weird stuff. Spiteful Returned, 1 and a black or 3 and a black. Whenever sighted Spiteful Returned or Enchanted Creature attacks, defending player loses 2 life before anything else. Enchanted Creature gets +1/+1. Okay. Let's quickly say yes to all that because it was funny. So we have 1 more card left. We do have 25 creatures. That is not a drain effect. It does. We do not gain life from it. Lifelink should go into drain more than that. We're putting it into a burn because it doesn't drain. Learn what drain means, people who do these auto tags. I'm tempted just to throw in another piece of removal, just because that specifically amuses me. But let's go up here. Let's go here. Let's just let's see what kind of sorceries they care about that we didn't do. Oh, destroy all creatures that aren't enchanted. Okay, yeah. There we go. Yep, never mind. Our funny piece of mass disruption, because I forgot this thing exists. Sure, other people might have enchanted creatures, but yeah, no, that was funny. Anyway, that's this deck. That amused me greatly. Now we just got to find my basics that I vaguely recall changing. Yep, we do not want you to change, and we don't want you to change, but we'll override everything else. Make sure actually... Oh, I don't have 37 lands. That's funny. Okay, I messed up somewhere. I think I actually will remove some of my ramp. I will remove Mind Stone, the Iron Crag, And the Thought Vessel, leaving in the ramp that can tap for colored mana, besides Soul Ring. Glad I checked. We'll do Orzhov Ballistica, even though it's not great. Oh, actually, there's very specifically something that should go in this deck. Will the land base suggest it? Yep, Hall of Heliod's Generosity. I was mentioning on another level that this, or on another episode, that blue has this exact card, but it's artifacts, and black has this exact card, but it's creatures. So green doesn't have a card for this, and red doesn't have a card for this. I wish the blue one did instants or sorceries, so the red one could do enchantments. But then I still have no idea what the green one would do. I guess it would do lands. Put target land from your graveyard on top of your battlefield, or from your graveyard on top of your library. But why would you do that? I suppose the red one could also do instants and sorceries, because like red and blue really are two sides of the same coin as far as instant sorceries and artifacts go, which is why I like the Is It color pair. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Do I still need one more land? Yes. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, we didn't play a whole lot of put a whole lot of humans in the deck, did we? I'm gonna hit up EDH just to see what they say. Rogue's Passage, I get it. 2 or fewer lands. I don't like the one that needs to be in your opening hand. I prefer the one that doesn't like being in your opening hand, for what it's worth. Yeah, I guess Rogue's Passage, just to get damage in, even though you have to 5 total mana, because again, this is a land. But that gets Killian through, so that's fine. So we are going to check this. We're going to press wrong buttons, because I think I'm where I'm not am. So, yep, nope. So this one is simply called Orzhov. Oh, this has all 100 already. Which is good because we're over 2 hours. So we're just going to go through this one really quick. Do I want to redo the lands? Yeah, let's redo the lands really quick. Hold on really quick. Yeah, we can redo these. And then we go to Blot on your permanent record. Go to lands. Copy card names with quantity. Import. Put them in. Save the changes. Then we're going to go look through the deck and see if we want to change out any lands. because I did see Minas Tirith in this deck, which isn't in the Blood on Your Permanent Record deck, because I don't know how many different creatures I was attacking over there with. So, Ghost Council of Orzhov. 2 white, 2 black for a 4/4 Spirit Lord. Did that get changed? Is Lord now just... Lord is no longer a creature type, I believe. I believe they took that out. When Ghost Council of Orzhov comes into play, target opponent loses life and you gain a life. And then you can pay 1, sacrifice a creature to blink the Ghost Council. Or no, flicker, because it comes back later. I'm still not 100% sure on which one of those is what. Ethereal Absolution, it costs 6. Creatures you control get +1/+1. Creatures your opponents control get -1/-1. And then you can pay a total of 4. For exile target card from an opponent's graveyard. If it was a creature card, you get a spirit. Then we get Kamahl, Privateering Mare. Whenever one or more tokens enter the battlefield under an opponent's control, for each of them you get a tapped copy. This only happens once a turn. And then whenever one or more tokens enter the battlefield under your control, each opponent loses life and you gain a life. Mirkwood Bats. Whenever you create or sacrifice a token, each opponent loses a life. So this is Aristocrats. Skull Clamp to turn small creatures into card draw. Idol of Oblivion to draw cards when we create tokens. Black Market Connections to create treasure tokens or creature tokens or draw a card, or all 3. Hardened Tactician, sacrifice a token, draw a card. I forgot this thing existed. I think that's really good. Phyrexian Arena, of course. Mangar the Diplomat, of course. Trouble in Pairs, of course. And then our lands... yeah, I can take out Hall of Heliod's Generosity. There we go. For Minas. Minas Tirith is the one where we can pretend this is a clue to draw a card if we've attacked with 3 or more creatures. And, yeah, you know what? The Rogue's Passage can stay in here as well. Oh, and then we have Obzedat, Ghost Council. 1, 2 white and 2 black for a 5/5 Spirit Advisor. When it enters the battlefield, target opponent loses 2 life and we gain 2 life. At the beginning of your end step, you may exile the Obzedat. If you do, return to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of your next upkeep. It gains haste. That's neat. Teysa, Envoy of Ghosts, has Vigilance and Protection from creatures, which is just a gnarly ability. Which means it just can't be blocked. And it blocks everything without trample perfectly. Because trample damage will still only do 4 damage to it, even though Teysa won't die from it. That's a very important thing to know. Or wait, or maybe protection works differently. I know that if you have indestructible, that's how that works. Let's actually look that up. I know it's eaten more time. In the context of Magic the Gathering, Trample allows a creature to assign lethal damage to a creature blocking it, and any remaining damage to the player planeswalker it's attacking. Protection prevents damage from a source with a specific quality, but does not stop the assignment of that damage. When a creature with Trample attacks and is blocked by a creature with protection from a color, the attacking player must assign lethal combat damage to the blocking creature, even if that damage is prevented by protection. The remaining damage then goes to the defending player. Okay, so it is exactly like indestructible for the purposes of trample. We learned a thing. Whenever a creature deals combat damage to you, destroy that creature and get a spirit. She costs 7, so she ain't coming out very early. But, and while this doesn't end the game, well, she can attack and block forever, but I still feel that's worth it. Then we have, Lothal Corrupt Sheriff. That's slightly different, so it deserves a stop. Whenever a player casts their second spell each turn, you lose a life and create a treasure. Sweet. Oh, Astronaut's Altar. Astronaut's Altar. Sacrifice a creature to get 2 colorless. Monologue tax. Whenever an opponent casts their second spell, we get a treasure. Solemn. Athreos, God of Passage. 1 white-black for a 5/4 indestructible. As long as your devotion to white and black is less than 7, it's not a creature. Whenever another creature you own dies, return it to your hand unless target opponent pays 3 life. I just like that. It's like either you get lightning bolted or I get this thing back. You have to be fine with both. Ancient Brass Dragon to grab stuff out of graveyards. And then our removal suite that I'm not gonna Karlov of the Ghost Council, white and a black for a 2/2, that whenever you gain life, put 2+1 counters on Karlov. And then you can pay a white and a black to remove 6 +1/+1 counters from them to exile target creature. Probably not going to happen, but hey. And then, yep. Teysa Orzhov Scion. Sorry. 1 white-black for a 2/3 human advisor. Sacrifice 3 white creatures, exile target creature. Whenever another black creature you control dies, create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. Then I put Vanish into Eternity in here. Just, even though I think it reads better than it is, because, like, Disenchant gets... I think it's because this can theoretically... This is 3 mana, get rid of a Planeswalker. I'm not going to dig too deep on my removal here, even though it could be better. Bitter Blossom, just to make more tokens. I get it. Jadar makes tokens. I get it. Skrelv Hive also makes tokens. I understand. Denethor, Ruling Steward. At the beginning of your end step, if a creature died under your control this turn, you get a creature token. And then you can also pay 2, sacrifice another creature just to make each opponent lose a life and you gain a life. So, you know, he has a way to make his triggered ability. Ophiomancer, just to make snakes. I get it. Teysa, Opulent Oligarch. 1 white-black for a 2/3 with human advisor with Death Touch. At the beginning of your end step, investigate for each opponent who lost life this turn. Whenever a clue you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, create a 1/1 white and black spirit creature token with flying. It only once a turn. Anointed Procession to get double tokens. Baron Bertram, Greywater. Whenever 1 or more tokens into the battlefield under your control, you also get a bat. No, a Vampire Rogue once a turn. And then you can sacrifice a creature or artifact to draw a card. You also have to pay 2 for that. And then we have Alinda of the Dusk Rose, or the Dusk Rose. She herself is the Dusk Rose. She's 4 mana for a 1/1 with lifelink, and then whenever another creature dies, she gets a +1/+1 counter. And then when she dies, you get X white vampire creature tokens with lifelink, which was X was her power. Mondrak to double our token making. Teysa Karlov. If a creature dying causes a trigger ability of a permanent you control to trigger, it triggers an additional time. And then creature tokens, we control have Vigilance and lifelink, which is just neat. Divine Visitation, to instead of getting stupid tokens, we get 4/4 angels with flying and vigilance. Elspeth also doubles our tokens. Did we get another token doubler in in Edge of Eternities. I should look. Just to be annoyed. And she also makes tokens and is also a finisher with the second one where it makes all of our stuff fly and gets a +1/+1 counter on all of our stuff. And then we can destroy a big thing if we have nothing else to do and are just sitting on so much loyalty. Gruul colored Gisa we can sacrifice a creature to make a bunch of 2/2 zombies equal to its power of the thing we sacrificed. Thalice, Reverent Medium. At the beginning of each end step, create X 1/1 white spirit creature tokens with flying, where X is the number of tokens you created this turn. We have a lot of ways of creating tokens. Ozhertaj, triple our creature token making. Ancient Gold Dragon because it makes creature tokens. And then now we go, yeah, that's back to the top. Holy moly. So we're looking up twice that many. Yep. A new token doubler has hit the tower. It is a space angel wizard with flying and lifelink and costs 5. Honestly, at this point, even though Anointed Procession costs 4, Anointed Procession can just come out of the deck, I feel. Oh, then it also has Warp, in case you just want to have it come down early because you're going to create a non-zero number of tokens. Oh, and then of course Gaia has Kea, I'm sorry, has a thing where you can -2 to do that, to have that effect for a turn. So we're going to do this. And I think we're going to retire Anointed Procession. We're not getting rid of Divine Visitation because that makes our garbage tokens into better tokens. But yeah, get Anointed Procession a gold watch, buy them a nice cake, gather everyone around, and wish them well. Since we have so many creatures that do that now. Let's do this. And then go to our lands. Something's weird's going on here. There must be like a special thing. Because it doesn't say Commander, it says Eternal. So that's something. Seventh Heaven is kind of just funny. Because Orzhov, Afterlife. Her, hardy, herp, derp. And then... I will admit, I like this mushroom-shaped tree. For what it's worth in the Avatar set. Giant Dead Dragon. Actually, I know exactly which land. The 250 Liliana, even though she's not appearing in this deck. And yeah, that'll be it. Next week, oh, we can do this. How about one at a time? Nope, it's just being weird. So next week is it and maybe Golgari. I'll see you then.